Story time on how I just found out that my older sister is actually my mom. So to start off with, growing up, I always lived with my mom, which is who really is my grandma, I guess, and my older sister, who is my mom, for basically all my life. Growing up, my sister was always like getting in trouble and stuff like that, but she was the older sister, and that's what it always seemed like it was supposed to be. Mind you, we 13 years apart, like 13 and a half years apart, and we really never had a relationship like that. Because when she did turn, was it 21? When she turned 21, she moved out and had two kids, who is my brother and sister, who I first thought was my niece and nephew. All right, so now getting to the point to how I just really found out. So also growing up, I never really worked like that, but when I did have a job, they never asked for like my birth certificate and stuff like that, so I never really got to see my birth certificate. So recently, I was getting hired at this like company thing that my friend was putting me on with. I kept asking my mom, well, my grandma, for my birth certificate. Like I needed my birth certificate. She kept procrastinating and saying all this other shit, like just to not to give it to me. So it go on like 2 weeks. My friend ended up calling me, letting me know like the offer finna end up being up and I'm not finna be able to get the job no more. So my mom was at work and I ended up just going in her room looking for the birth certificate. So I find a box where my social security and my birth certificate and shit at. And so the company needed me to take a picture of it, well, have a copy of it and send it to them. So as I'm taking the picture and like looking at it for real and seeing my name, I see my older sister name on it too. So that instantly threw me off because I know how a birth certificate worked. So I waited till my mom came home and, well, my grandma, and she ended up coming home. So I wanted to confront her about it. Making a part two right now. Follow me for part two.
Do something with it.
It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and needing me. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and all day. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and needing me. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just.
Hey y'all, welcome back to All Things Jenny. I'm Jenny. So this young man is crashing out on TikTok because he just found out that his sister is actually his mother and his mother is his grandma this whole time. The way this young man is crashing out and the way this story is so embarrassing, I would have never allowed it to see the light of day, at least not from my own mouth. There's no way. There's just no way. And I know, don't get me wrong, I know there's plenty of people who experience this in real life, but I just don't know how I would react if I found out that my sister, my older sister, who I've always thought was my sister, was actually my mom. And the way he found out was actually crazy. So let's take a look and y'all tell me what you're thinking in the comment section below.
Part two on how I done fucked around and found out my older sister is really my mom. Alright, where we left off at in part one was basically I needed my birth certificate because I was getting hired for this job or whatever and shit like that. And my mom, who really my grandma, wasn't trying to give me the birth certificate for, I guess, that reason. So when I went into her room or whatever, like I went and looked for the birth certificate myself, I seen that my older sister's name was actually on a birth certificate than who I thought was supposed to be up on it. So now I'm just waiting on my mom with my grandma to come back from work so I can confront her about it. All right, so boom, now we at where we left off at for part one. So now my mom, it keep fucking me up, My grandma walked in and she already seen that my face was looking funny as hell. Like I just wasn't in the mood type shit. So she go and ask me what's wrong. I just show her the birth certificate. She instantly just started cussing me out. Oh, what you doing going through my shit and just doing too much. When really, what the fuck is this? So now she over here telling me, yo, sister got to tell you about that. Yo, sister got to tell you about that. Call your sister and ask her. I don't got time for this. I'm done with this and all of this other shit. So at this point, I'm already putting 1 + 1 or the two together, whatever the fuck people be saying. And so I end up calling my sister. And I asked her like, so why is your name on my birth certificate? So she just get to crying. Then now she started explaining herself. So now she telling me how she ain't ever meant for none of this to happen. She was young. She was only 13 when it happened. Shit like that. And how they didn't want to make her give up the baby and how her mom made her keep it and all this other shit. But it's just fucking me up because we still using these same pronouns as if I just said, I don't know. Like, it's just fucking me all up. So now I start asking her, so who the fuck is my dad? Because my grandpa, he already done passed away a couple years ago. And if, you know? So now she ended up, I gotta put the rest in part 3. Part 3 on how I found out that my older sister is actually my mom. Alright, in part 1 and part 2, I don't know if y'all already seen it, but quick summarization. Basically, I needed my birth certificate for a job. My mom, who is now my grandma, wasn't trying to give it to me the whole time. I ended up going in the room, finding it myself, and seeing that my older sister's name was on the birth certificate. I then waited at home until my mom, well, grandma, came home so I can confront her about the situation. I confronted her about the situation. She tells me I need to call my sister and have her explain it to me. She's not dealing with it and all this other shit. I call my older sister, well, my mom. She tells me how she never meant for this to happen. She's crying, bawling on the phone, all this and the third. They going back and forth. It's just a lot. So now at this point, I'm confused and want to know more. Because this whole time, I'm thinking, who is my grandma is my mom and my grandpa is my dad. It's not. So now I'm trying to figure out who is my dad? Where's my dad at? So now as I'm on the phone with my older sister, with my mom, I ask her, okay, so who is my dad? Like, it's too much going on. Who the fuck is really my dad? Because the dad I thought that was my dad passed away, which is my grandpa, I'm thinking is. So now, as I say that, she asks me, do I have the phone on speaker for my mom, my grandma to hear? And I say yes. So now my older sister slash mom is now yelling at the grandma and she's saying, let him know who the dad is, let him know who the dad is, since we letting out secrets now and all this other shit. So now here I am confused. What y'all mean? What's going on? So now my grandma is arguing back with my older sister or my mom, telling her, oh, you know how you was growing up, you knew what you was doing, don't blame this on me, this was all up on you, you was the one that was portraying yourself the way you was portraying yourself. But I'm still here trying to figure out who is my dad. Why is there now a problem on me asking who is my dad? So now my grandma done went upstairs and slammed the door and told us to stop talking to her. This, whatever we want to know about, I need to ask her. We need to talk about it ourselves. So now I asked her again on the phone. So who is my dad and what's really going on? She hangs up the phone. So now I get my ass up in the car and start driving up over there because we finna figure this shit out today. Putting the rest in part 4 right now. Follow me for part 4. Part 4 on how I found out that my older sister is actually my mom. And part 3 for everybody that's watching this now. Basically where I left off is me trying to figure out who my dad is now that I know that my older sister is actually my mom. So now after I brought it up to my mom slash grandma and my older sister slash mom that I'm trying to find out, okay, who is my dad? They both get to arguing. They going back and forth. My mom slash older sister is now saying to my grandma, that's not my grandma, oh, let him know now, since we letting secrets out, let him know now, woo, woo, woo. So I end up looking at my grandma, asking her, so what's going on? She went upstairs, slammed the door, and said, if I want to figure everything out, you need to talk to your sister about it. So now that I'm on the phone with my older sister slash mom, I'm telling her, okay, who the fuck is my dad? Like, because this not making sense. So as I say that, she hangs up the phone. So now I hop in the car because I'm finna pull up. Like, me and my sister, well, my mom, like, our relationship is like iffy. I guess because of this, now that I'm finding this out. But I always thought it was because we was 13 years apart and that she already had her 2 other kids, like my nieces and nephews, who I guess is really my brothers and sisters. So now I pull up to her house and she already outside on the porch crying. So I go to her, I'm like, what's going on? Why everybody been keeping shit away from me? Let me know what the fuck going on. So she's screaming and hollering, talking about, don't be saying all this in front of my kids. My kids don't need to hear this. Whoop in the third. Well, bitch, I am your kid. Fuck is you talking about? So now, as we sitting up there kind of getting loud with each other, I guess my grandma slash mom or whatever was pulling up behind me anyways. Like, I guess she started making her way after I left out the house. So now she gets out the car, we all out the car, and now they both get in each other's face. They going back and forth, and my older sister is just saying like, "You the one that let all this happen. You the one that got this to this point." Whoop, whoop. And now my grandma is telling her to shut the fuck up and stuff like that. And my older sister ended up smacking her. And so now my older sister looks at me and says, "You want to know what's really going on and what's really been going on and why this thing been holding secret?" And now my grandma like, "Shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. Whoa, this is not the time and place." And then she ends up telling me, okay, I got to put the rest in part 5. Follow me for part 5. How I found out my older sister is actually my mom, part 5. Alright, so where I left off at last time was my grandma slash mom and my older sister slash mom is fighting because I'm trying to figure out who is my dad now that I know who my mom is. So now, my grandma and my older sister is now fighting. Like, they fighting. They done slapped each other, they fighting. And my older sister is now saying to my grandma slash mom, tell him the truth. Let him know what really happened. So now, my older sister ends up calling my auntie. She calls my auntie and say, where the fuck is your husband and your son at? So now I'm like, why is you calling our auntie to figure out where his husband and his son at? What the fuck is going on? So now my older sister slash mom is cussing out my auntie, telling her, don't sit up here and act like y'all wasn't sitting up there making us play house. So now I'm in confusion because it's still not clear. Is it my... just the secrets and everything that's been going on throughout this whole process of me finding out my actual appearance is just crazy as fuck. Finishing up the rest in part 6.